What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you talking golf another week. We've got a little overseas trip here the next couple weeks on the PGA Tour. This week for the Genesis Scottish Open, and then, of course, the Open Championship next week. Coming off the John Deere Classic last week. Of course, always one of my favorite tournaments, and we'll recap that here to start things off. But if you're new, I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84. I've got Mr. Derek Farnsworth, aka Notorious, alongside. And Noto, what's going on?
Yeah, not much. Hope you had a good week. Did you end up going to the tournament a little bit?
I did. So I went Thursday and Friday, and a little Thursday just in the morning, and then Friday most of the day, and then a little bit on Saturday. But didn't go Sunday because we had a birthday party. But so funny story about this. Mentioned that, I usually play a little bit more than normal for the John Deere because I decide to, go for a few days. Decided last minute to go on Thursday because it was supposed to be really nice. And how it works there is all the parking is off site, and then you take a shuttle bus, just like a school bus, to the course. And I had entered all my lineups. I messed around in lineup HQ, got all that stuff set up, and then took off, got ready to get on the bus to go over to the golf course. I'm on the bus to the golf course, and I realized that I did not upload my lineups that I had built in lineup HQ. And I did 100 lineups in like the $15 or whatever. So I had 100 of the same lineup in every contest, and I look at my phone and it's 6:32 and the contest locks at 6:45. So I've got 13 minutes to figure out what to do. All I have is my phone. But I had the lineups built. I just didn't have them edited. And so if I was at home, I could have done that in like 3 minutes. So my options in 13 minutes were to try to edit as many lineups as I could on my phone, or gamble on attempting to call my wife and walk her through the process of uploading and then editing the lineups, which I did not think I could do in 13 minutes. So I edited about 25 lineups in 13 minutes. I don't, just kind of going off of what I thought I had for a player pool. And then I ended up with 75 of the same lineup, which was horrible because it had like 3 missed cuts. So I had a terrible week. It's the first time I've ever forgotten to upload. At least the lineup I had in was legit. Like, it used all the salary. But I certainly didn't want to run a 75 team train. I mean, it probably didn't matter. A lot of my value guys missed the cut, but I was feeling pretty stupid on Thursday.
Man, imagine the backlash if that team would have won the first 75 spots in the GPP. That would have been.
Oh, and I could see it now, right? I win the first 75, and somebody comes up and says, "These aren't the guys you recommended on your show." No, it was just a dummy lineup that I threw in, and then I had it 100 times. And I don't even know what made me think about it like 15 minutes before. I wish I would have at least, had maybe a half an hour, and I probably could have managed, but. It was just a lot of random clicking and trying to get names of guys I wanted in my player pool. But that was tough. Saved a shot for Daniel Berger that got embedded into a tree that the marshal could not find, and my dad found it, and so He was able to identify his ball and take a drop. He was not happy about hitting it in the tree on a par 5 and having to take a penalty, but. My dad found his ball, and that, he's told that story about 7 times since we got back. So that was the highlight of the week. My teams were horrible, as highlighted by Berger hitting the ball in the trees. But I like Davis Thompson, and he was the winner, but didn't have good stuff around him. So how about you?
Yeah, same. Thompson was first in the model, had him in DFS, didn't bet him, but everything around him was pretty bad. So had a decent week of betting. Had a made cut parlay and some other stuff, but nothing too crazy. I did see Kyle Murray had a big betting week. So scores and odds if anybody wants to check it out for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle had a great week and he's been crushing it. So kudos to him. We'll hopefully move on from, and that tournament, is a little bit of a crapshoot. Thursday and Friday, I was following around Berger and Nick Dunlap and Chris Goddard, and all three of them missed the cut. So two of the three ended up in my 75 team train, and then they didn't make the weekend. So it was, it was on to showdown and some head-to-head matchup bets at that point to have a sweat for the weekend. But that's okay. Can't win them all. It was a beautiful week for weather. Couldn't ask for much more than 75 to 80 degrees and no rain. So it was fun to go check it out for a few days. And, now they all kind of head overseas for a while, and we'll see what these next 2 weeks bring. Totally different course setups than what we've seen at the Birdie Fest with the John Deere and the Rocket Mortgage the last 2 weeks. We saw 28 under last week. That was a course record by one. And just, obviously lots of birdies and not a whole lot you can take away from that. Spieth had a big round on Saturday, but then had like the worst round on Sunday. So not sure what you want to make of him at this point. Another pretty solid week for Aaron Rai was kind of the other kind of big takeaway for me last week, in addition to Thompson there. So Rai seems to be dialed in right now. CT Pan a good week as well. But anything else? Probably don't need to spend a whole lot of time back on last week.
I mean, fun seeing the young guys, Luke Clanton and Thor Bjornsson, both finished Q2. Thor Bjornsson just turned pro. Clanton, it sounds like he's going back for another year of college golf. So I'm sure he'll be out on the PGA Tour here soon. But he earned himself another spot in whatever the next field is going to be.
This week there's an alternate field event, and he is the betting favorite.
Oh, okay. I haven't even looked at that board yet.
He's an amateur.
That's got to be the first in a while.
Yeah, that's the only reason I knew is because I saw it on Twitter this afternoon. I can't remember if the PGA Tour tweeted out. I don't think they did. It was, might have been Action Network actually, but anyway, Clanton, who's missed out on like $875,000 by not being pro these last couple weeks. He's the betting favorite this week at plus 900 in an alt field event. I mean, that takes some self-control to say I'm not turning pro. Like I'd see the, what the paydays would have been the last couple weeks and probably cry in my soup a little bit.
Is Thor Bjornsson playing too?
And he is your second favorite after Clanton. You're just going down the whole board here. I just pulled it up. So yeah, Clanton is plus 900. Thor Bjornsson is plus 1,200, and nobody else is better than plus 2,500. Chan Kim is the third favorite. So there's your field strength for that event this week.
Hey, Chan Kim, I wrote him up last week, and Andrew Novak still. Did you see Novak? He was plus 4 after 2 holes, and finished T7. That was pretty impressive. And then we should probably talk about Ryder Cup a little bit. Keegan Bradley just out of nowhere being the captain. He didn't even know he was going to be the captain.
So that's the strangest part to me. Like there was no conversation with him beforehand. And it's one thing, if this just kind of gets swept under the rug, but to admit it afterwards, like that seems strange to me. I'll preface it. I don't have an issue with Keegan being the captain. I think it's a pretty good choice, but it seems weird that he would have no clue, right?
That, and he's talked about it being a boys club that he's not a part of, and now he's supposed to lead the boys club, and it's all weird. It's a weird situation.
And Xander doesn't want to go to too many dinners, he says.
Were they just banking on Tiger, and then Tiger just decided not to do it, or what?
I mean, you have to think that Tiger was offered and said no.
Yeah, I wonder if they thought he would say yes, and they had to scramble or something. Kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird dynamic there.
I hope Keegan chooses himself as the captain's pick.
Look, there's not a cushier spot you could go into because no matter what he does, nobody will hate him more than they hated Zach Johnson. So it doesn't matter what he does. It can't be worse.
Hey, he finished T26, like we said. 30th place finish for Zach Johnson last week.
Yeah, I mean, he did better than every value guy I took in my 75 team train and the other lineups I managed to build in time. So he just always chugs along there at the John Deere. He knows where to leave the ball on every hole. after 20 years of dominating that course. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it affects, because it's not like Keegan has been on the downhill slide on the tour. Like, he's still a pretty good player. Like, does all the work and preparation that goes into captaining the Ryder Cup team, does that affect his play on the course over the next, few months? I think that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. I mean, look at the guys that are on the pack, like Cantlay and some of those other guys. Like, their games have definitely dropped off just doing that. So, got to imagine the Ryder Cup's bigger, more of a weight than being on the player committee.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's transition to a new week. We've got the Scottish Open, so transitioning to links style golf this week. Certainly a stronger field than what we've seen the last couple of events, and a tournament that has been co-branded with the PGA Tour and the Euro Tour for the last 3 years now. Before that, it was a staple on the Euro Tour, DP World Tour, whatever you want to call it. So it's not like this is a brand new event. A couple years ago, it has been played for more years than that as a Euro Tour event. But this will be the third year where it's been co-branded with the PGA Tour. What do we need to know about the course this week?
Yeah, and it's the sixth time it's been held at the Renaissance Club. It's in Scotland, designed by Tom Doak. Par 70, 7,237 yards, and it's a little bit different than most par 70 layouts. There are 3 par 5s, 5 par 3s, and a drivable par 4. So I think the Bombers will have more of an advantage than they do at most par 70 courses, just because of the 4 scoring holes. We've seen Rory win here, Minwoo Lee's won here, Xander's won here. So a pretty good list of winners here in the past. The winning scores have been anywhere from 22 under to 7 under. All that's going to depend on the wind. This is links course, so very few trees and going to be firm turf, and it's just going to depend on the wind. And early in the week, it was looking like there's going to be no wind. Now it's looking a little bit windier. Friday, Saturday, and Thursday all have double-digit wind gusts, so that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I want to see all the regular PGA Tour guys get out of their comfort zone a little bit. I think that definitely helps the regular, DP World Tour guys as well, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I think going to be a lot of long irons. 69% of approach shots last year were from at least 150 yards. I think links experience is going to help. The greens here are really large and they're going to be slow. A lot of 3 putts. So if you want to look at 3 putt avoidance, I don't mind that. And that's pretty much it for me. I'm definitely just going to try to be overweight on a lot of the European Tour guys.
Yeah, a couple things that I've seen in various spots here this week. There's a lot of people who have mentioned that while this is a links course, it doesn't play like a true links course. What are your thoughts on kind of what that quote means as far as how we want to build our lineups?
The quote, yeah, I mean, I've seen that quote too, and it has something to do with the fact that there's a couple of trees on the property and the fact that there's some kind of wall, and so they're not calling it a true links; it's a links style. I don't know.
Got 3 trees, no links, not allowed.
Yeah, so I think it's still going to play like the links course.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got to think of it that way.
With the purists are just, they won't let us have it,
They won't let you have the distinction. Fair enough. But I totally agree on prioritizing some of the European guys. I mean, obviously, a few of them have come over and played on the PGA Tour a little bit more regularly. A few of them haven't. And there's going to be a whole lot of names that just get no ownership because people don't recognize who they are, even though they might be strong players on these types of courses. It's obviously in Scotland. I like a couple of the Scottish guys this week. And as Noto said, we'll mention some of those names, but it's not going to take a whole lot of effort to make your lineups look a little bit different than the masses this week for sure. So a week that's maybe a little bit tough to get a pulse on projected ownership, but of course we'll refine that as it gets closer to lineup lock. And as Noto mentioned, we'll have to keep an eye on the weather also. But we start at the top this week. We've got Rory McIlroy back in action after the U.S. Open for the first time. Xander Schauffele, Oberg, and Morikawa are your golfers above 10K this week. No Scheffler in the field. Rory is going to be the obvious talking point for a lot of people. I think there's plenty of value, at the lower end to where you can fit a high-end guy in if you want, and we kind of have all 4 of these guys between about 24 and 29% projected ownership right now. So That's more than 100% total ownership, which means that most lineups are probably going to start with one of the 10K plus guys. Do you have a favorite, or how are you approaching those guys?
Yeah, Xander is by far my favorite. I think they're all fine, but Xander's just been so consistent. He's finished, hasn't finished outside of the top 25 all year except for one start. He's one of those guys that just does everything well. He got a rating of 99.2 on model, which is pretty impressive given how strong the field is. He's pretty much first in every category that I'm looking at this week, and he's won here before. So I do like Xander. I mean, Rory, can't imagine a better spot for Rory to play, coming off of that disappointing U.S. Open, just because Scottish fans love him. He won here last year. He's going to be certainly, comfortable. So I think it's a pretty good spot for him if people are going to overlook him. And then I don't know what to do with Aberg and Morikawa. I think they're both fine. I would just rather get up to Xander. Morikawa has talked about struggling on links with the turf and all that, but he did win an Open Championship in less windy conditions. So if it does look like the wind is going to be down, then I'll probably have a little more interest in Morikawa. But for right now, it's probably just Xander. What about you?
Yeah, I like Xander the most as well. I just think, his made cut streak pretty ridiculous in stroke play events. He always seems to get up for the bigger tournaments. He's got a major now, so obviously the major's not till next week, but just seems to play really well in events like these with stronger fields. And yeah, I think that if you're a little bit nervous about how Rory's going to respond mentally, then it's an easy flip to Schauffele. We've got Schauffele at lower ownership right now. Maybe that lasts, maybe it doesn't, but I still think that I'm in agreement there. Xander's my favorite. I don't have any issue with the other three guys, but I'll probably be underweight on all of them if that projected ownership holds true a little bit. And I think, you can just kind of play your favorite there. If you're nervous about one guy, then just play somebody else or start in the nines, which is totally viable as well. Again, this is a stronger field than we've seen lately, so you still have names like Fleetwood, Hovland, Tom Kim, Matsuyama, Minwoo Lee, Fitzpatrick are all in the 9Ks. Fleetwood not on U.S. soil, so that means he's probably going to win. All joking aside, he's probably my favorite there at 9.9K. Looks like you like him as well, but what are your thoughts on that next range?
Yeah, this is one of those weeks where I'm going to trust my gut over the model, and that never works out well, but I'm going to do it anyway. Love Tom Kim at 9,500. Coming off of the miscut, but it was right off the playoff loss to Scheffler. He's finished 6th and 3rd here in his 2 starts. Good iron player. Was T2 at the Open Championship last year too, so he likes links. Then I like Minwoo Lee down at 9,200. He's won here before in 2021, and he's an elite driver, elite short game. The irons have been terrible. I think he's 124th in approach this year, but he's gained in 2 of his last 3, 6 straight top 30s. So I think we're kind of seeing an upward trend from Minwoo Lee. Those 2 are my favorites. Tommy, can never go wrong with Tommy, especially if the wind continues to pick up. I'll like Tommy even more just because he likes difficult conditions. Hovland rates out well, but I don't feel all that strongly about him. Hideki, kind of the same thing. Going to be off the Fitz, though. He just hasn't been very good.
Yeah, way too up and down, at least compared to what we're used to seeing from him. I like the Tom Kim call. Obviously, Fleetwood is my favorite. Maybe slightly higher on Matsuyama, but I'll let ownership kind of guide there too. I mean, if Matsuyama is going to be 18% and Minwoo Lee is going to be 10, I like Minwoo Lee a little bit more in GPPs, but I don't have a strong take on this range other than Fleetwood being my favorite. I'd probably go with Kim and Matsuyama after that. So, any other thoughts on that range there?
I think this is the week where Hovland could get squeezed a little bit. He just hasn't been great. Nobody really wants to play him. If he's then, I think he could be like sub 10. Would you have interest in Hovland?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I miscut in the 25th here. I always worry about the short game, but I don't hate it. I don't think there's anything that's going to get me to have a strong take on him. Like if he was 2% owned, maybe, but 10, like if this whole range just kind of, I could see this whole range just kind of getting spread out, which is kind of how we have it right now. But I don't know.
I think easier, less wind would help him because he can hit more greens, maybe.
Yeah, I would think so. And that's, 2 years ago was when the winning score here was -7. He missed the cut that year, and then he finished T25 last year when the conditions were a little better. Obviously, that's a mega small sample size. It's two times, but the logic makes some sense there, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board too. Yeah, I like the 9Ks a lot. I'll probably have more than the 10K.
All right, as we head down into the 8K range here, the only guy that has the only two guys that have made the cut in both years at this event are Corey Connors and Wyndham Clark. Sung Jae Im is 0 for 2, but played well last week. Aaron Rai is 0 for 2, but has been playing really well. Tigala missed the cut here last year. Spieth is 1 for 2. So interesting mix here because there isn't a whole lot of history at this event, but you've got guys like Rai and Sung Jae who have shown signs of life lately. Particularly Rai, who I think is going to be one of the more popular plays of the week. Which I don't know. If you're a true course history truther, it becomes, how much are you going to let 2 years of failures keep you away from a guy that's shown super good form right now. So your thoughts on the 8Ks?
That's funny. I was talking with Jamino today about Aaron Rai, and he just doesn't understand why people want to play him now after they haven't wanted to play him like the last month when he's been the same golfer. And it's just how it works. We follow the ball striking, and he's so cheap this week at 8,300. Plus, he won here before in 2020, 4 straight top 20s. And if you look at his numbers, he's gained 8.9, 4.8, 2.9 putting the last 3 weeks. He's already got the ball striking. So if he can continue that, I do like Rai at 8,300. I do think he's going to be popular, like you said. Harmon seems like a really good spot for him. He's been, top 35 machine. And T12 here last year, obviously won the Open Championship last year as well. Connor is probably the highest floor of anybody here, just given his ball striking. Then I like JT in tournaments. Everyone just seems to think he's in terrible form, but if you zoom out a little bit, top 12 in 8 of his last 15. He's got all the shots for the wind and the link style. So I do like JT in tournaments. But what I don't know what I'm doing with Sung Jae because form's there, but yeah, the course history is not. Do you have a strong take on Sung Jae?
Yeah, I think I like Sung Jae. Encouraged by the way he's playing. I mean, he's 19th in ball striking, 9th off the tee, last 36 rounds. And if you look over that same span, part of the reason why Justin Thomas hasn't had the finishes, Justin Thomas is 146th in putting, which is abnormal for him. I mean, obviously that should improve. So, I think you can make a case for him in tournaments as well for the reasons that you mentioned and in hopes that, look, last 36 rounds, he's lost like 20 total strokes putting, that at least normalizes a little bit. But I watched Sung Jae a little bit last week. I think that it certainly looks better than it has if you go out, if you go back 4, 6, 8 months. Look at the more near-term stuff, I think is pretty encouraging. I think he's a good pivot away from, Rai will certainly be popular. And I think what Aaron Rai has done lately is great. But this is a spot where I think if he ends up getting mega steam, 25% plus ownership, I could see pivoting away from Rai in GPPs to look at somewhere else. I think he's perfectly fine in cash games, but that's just playing the game theory angle of, hey, this is a totally different course than what we've seen the last couple weeks. Maybe it throws him off a bit. Just hard to say. Played last week, probably a little bit of jet lag. He tees off at 1:22 in the morning, my time on Thursday. So yeah, I mean that's just making making me feel a little more comfortable with trying to find a reason to go underweight in GPPs. But
do you have a take on Tigala? Got a question about him.
Yeah, I mean, again, another situation with him where you just kind of don't know where he fits the best. Missed the cut here last year, his first time, but like his stats have all been really solid of late, except for around the green. I don't hate it. I probably won't end up with a ton, but that's not to say it's not. I like him maybe a little bit better than say Clark or Spieth right around him, or Davis Thompson will be the interesting one coming off a win. Shoots 28 under. Nobody's going to want to play him.
Yeah, that's another one that Jamino just doesn't understand. I was like, there's unwritten rules of golf DFS where you just don't play the winner from the week before, especially if it's a guy picking up his first win. You just don't do it. So I think he's going to end up being kind of lower on, but we'll see.
All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and move into that 7K range then, unless you've got a hot take on Spieth. But I was really hoping that Spieth would like have a hot Sunday as well at the John Deere and, end up finishing. Like that's the thing. Spieth shot like 8 under on Saturday and he got up to the top 10. Like if Spieth would have shot 8 under again on Sunday and finished in like 3rd place last week, everybody would, Spieth's back all over him. Instead, he went down the leaderboard about 15 spots on Sunday, and it was just kind of another mediocre finish. I'm not playing him anyway, but would have been interesting to see where the masses would have gone. But I like the 7Ks. I think there's a lot of interesting names in here. You've got Scotland's own Bobby Mack, PGA Tour winner this year, finished 2nd here last year. I think he's a really strong play. Benny On coming off a withdrawal with illness in his last start. Sepp Straka has been playing really well. So these guys in the upper 7s, Thompson, if you want to throw out the can't play the guy off a win narrative, you could even maybe make a case for Homa. I'm probably not doing that, but I think the upper part of the 7K range is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is for sure. Homa's driver has just been so bad. He's 77th over the last 3 months in strokes gained off the tee. And that doesn't include all of the regular DP World Tour guys who I had to manually add. So, but he does have the course history, back-to-back top 20s here. I do like Benny On. I like Bezuidenhout because I always like Bezuidenhout. Good fit for him. He's been really good on links. He's got 7 wins in Europe. So I think he's a good fit at 7,500. Don't know what to do with Siwoo. Bobby Mack, he just shows up, so probably keep him in your player pool tournament. And then I was going to mention with Spieth, I have him projected lower than Soderberg, Højgaard, Bernd Wiesberger, Jordan Smith. He should be mid-6s.
Wolf, 6,500 Jordan Spieth. Man, the pitchforks will be coming out. Although I don't know how many truthers he has left. It seems the bandwagon is dwindling.
He was single-digit ownership last week.
Yeah, at the John Deere. Times are tough. Yeah, I'm obviously off of that train, but have been for a while, especially at that salary. And I guess if you wanted to make the case for Homa, I mentioned you could. Top 20s here the last 2 years, but I am probably out on him with all those other options in that range. And agree on the Seabass call. Statistically, one of the best in this field in short game, pretty much all the short game metrics over the last 3 to 6 months. So no issue with playing him as well if you want to do that. All right, let's go ahead and head into the bottom part of the 7K range then. Seems like Siwoo Kim is going to get a little bit of buzz this week, but this is where you get some of like the PGA Tour regulars that are going to feel underpriced to the casual player compared to the rest of this field. You've got Adam Scott, Alex Noren, Keith Mitchell, Denny McCarthy, Billy Horschel, Tom Hoagie, Van Rooyen, all these guys in the low 7s this week. And then we kind of start to mix in these guys that are maybe a little bit more household names on the DP World Tour. So any of these other kind of PGA Tour regulars that you like down here?
Yeah, tell me how many strokes is Keith Mitchell going to lose on and around the greens this week? I really want to play him.
Enough to offset the ball striking.
I mean, he gained 10.1 ball striking last week. He's over the last 24 rounds, 2nd off the tee, 7th on approach. If he just can be -2 with the short game, got to think he's going to have a decent week. Low ownership too, 6% right now. I do like Hoagie. Looks like he's going to be the most popular guy down here, but good iron player, top 20 here last year, was contending at the Open too last year. And then my favorite Euro in the 7s is going to be Tom McKibben. Young guy that's won on the DP World Tour, 3 top 10s in his last 4 starts. He played here last year, finished T35. And then if you look at his numbers, he's 4th in strokes gained off the tee, 5th in bogey avoidance, 2 stats that I'm really looking at this week on the DP World Tour. So he's going to be a guy that's probably going to get steamed a little bit. I've seen his name pop up quite a bit.
Yeah, and so take the ownership on some of these guys with a grain of salt for now. At least, it's tough because of the trying to merge the data together. But McKibben will almost certainly be higher owned than the 0.22% we have him at right now. A few other guys as we kind of head in the sixes. Wiesberger at 6,600. Ewan Ferguson at 6,700 is my favorite. Guy who won last week to get in, or won the last time he teed it up anyway. I'm not sure if that was last week or a couple weeks ago, to get into the Open Championship. A couple guys that Noto has mentioned before, or kind of in passing earlier in the show as well. Soderberg, Jordan Smith. I mean, all these guys right now are going to show like 1 or 2% ownership, but they're not going to be super popular. I mean, a lot of these guys probably are going to end up in that 4, 5, 6, 8% ownership range because not a lot of people know about them. So as we head into the value range, who are some of those guys that you like?
Yeah, you mentioned my 3 favorites. Bernd Wiesberger, 6 straight top 35s. He won here in 2019, finished T26 here in 2021. Jordan Smith, he hasn't had as consistent of a year as he has in years past, but coming off of a second place finish, he's got back-to-back top 25s here. Soderberg, I had to bump his projection down because he was rating out so well for me. He's got 3 top 3s in his last 5. He's made his last 2 cuts here. Number 1 on the DP World Tour in birdie or better percentage. So if the conditions aren't going to be bad, I really like him at 6,400. In terms of the PGA Tour guys, I don't mind looking to Ben Griffin. He's been playing well. Made the cut here last year with the T25. He had a huge weekend at the JDC.
Yeah, he was kind of scrambling to make the cut, and then he kind of took off.
I had him outright, and Meansy texted me, "Hey, Griffin outright's live," and I was like, "What? There's no way." And he was like 10 under or something. But speaking of going low, are 59s just meaningless at this point?
Yeah, I think so.
Not meaningless, but not meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a pretty cool story. Was there more than one last week, or was there just the one?
No, but just Cam Young did it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't mean to say just the one, though I guess that goes to your point. Are they meaningless now? Because I thought maybe there was a second one that I missed. But yeah, they interviewed Hayden Springer on the kind of the local news stations after the first round, and he had he has a pretty cool story. He had an infant daughter that sadly passed away, and just made me kind of root for him, but couldn't hang up there at the end. But it was pretty cool to see him with the 59 on Thursday there.
Yeah,
I put my hot take in the survey last week that Keith Mitchell was going to shoot a 59, so I just got the wrong guy.
I mean, if he could be positive putting, he would definitely.
He'd hit a 59.
Anyone else?
How about Mark Hubbard, by the way? This is irrelevant to this week, but
yes,
Mark Hubbard has, we talked about this last week that he hasn't missed a cut all year. He went like birdie eagle to make the cut the week before, or birdie or something. And then last week he was 2 off the cut line with 2 holes to go again. And he went eagle birdie and made the cut with 1 hole to spare, with 1 stroke to spare. And then had his, typical mid 30s or 40th place finish on the weekend or whatever. But that's clutch for the cut sweat.
He was the last one in my made cut parlay. And so once he made the eagle, we were like, "Oh, he's gonna bogey 18 just to make it that much worse." And he ended up birdieing it. So
yeah, and 18, the last hole on each 9 is not easy at that course. Is the only 2 hard holes on the course, but so that was clutch for my 75 team train. It made it go from a 2 of 6 to a 3 of 6 with Hubbard making it through. So kudos to him. I just saw his name. He's 6,500. Hey, he's probably going to make the cut. If you're doing 150 entries, you can sprinkle him in some.
I got a few more for you.
Any interest in either of the Højgaards? They're the same price.
Yeah, I like Rasmus just because he projects better for me. What about you?
Yeah, I don't have a strong take. I could see using either one in GPPs. Otherwise, I'm kind of on the same guys. Don't mind the Griffin call. Obviously, the Euro guys we've kind of mentioned.
Okay, a couple more for you.
Go ahead.
Andrew Novak, 6,200, 3 straight top 20s. Kevin Yu's been playing well. He's a bomber, kind of fits the Min Woo Lee build. So I like that. And then Laurie Cantor, I was looking at his stats. 6th off the tee, 17th on approach on the DP World Tour. And then he's like dead last. He's Keith Mitchell of the
He's the DP World Tour's version of Keith Mitchell.
And recently won about a month ago. So 6,100 if you need somebody way down.
Yeah, don't hate that call for sure. It's like we said, it's pretty easy with all these guys to find a way to make your lineups a little bit different this week for sure. It doesn't take a whole lot to find a guy that's going to sneak through the ownership cracks there a little bit. So, all right, with that, we'll go ahead and transition to our end of show snake draft. If you aren't interested in listening to a snake draft on DraftKings or participating, feel free to call it a show for this week. Of course, if you're checking us out on YouTube, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. Get notifications whenever we're going live. And for next week, we're going to record an hour later, and we're going to do it on Monday. So there's nothing going on next week. It's the MLB All-Star break. The All-Star game is not till Tuesday. The only thing that's going on Monday is the Home Run Derby, and we've got a major with the Open Championship. So perfect week to tape it on Monday, and we can have the spotlight with no baseball going on that night. So we're going to tape. Those of you who like to watch us live and like to do the snake drafts, we're going to tape next Monday 1 hour later than usual. So that'll be 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, and whatever in between next Monday night. So if you're watching us live, check us out next week on Monday night. For those of you who are sticking around, you want to do the snake draft, you know the drill by now. We find a snake draft on DraftKings for this week. Hopefully we can find a 0 out of 6. $5. Let's see. We got 1 out of 6. So hopefully that's not a sitter. And it's just a person that heard me start rambling and joined in. So we'll join that one, which is now at 2 of 6 for our $5 snake draft. Once we fill up, I will share my screen and we will go from there. Predictably, since all my lineups were terrible last week, I presume my snake draft lineup was also horrible. But I would like to give kudos to whoever did end up winning it. I just can't find it. I played more lineups last week, so I got more to sift through than usual. So many more. Especially when you got a 75 team train, you got there you go. All right, last week's snake draft. Noto on top. Dominating.
Yeah, that was my single cash of the week. There we go.
A 162 fantasy points from Davis Thompson. I'll do that for you. You got 7. You got 7 of 7 through the cut, my friend. That's tough to do.
I would have traded that for my main lineup.
Lee Hodges finished dead last out of everybody that made the cut, but it still counts. All right, and we're full. So I will share my screen. And what do you know? After I had to make our producer, Steve, go through a whole lot of rigmarole last week because I shared my address and my phone number as I was trying to change my logo. And so I asked him to please, blurt that out on the replay stream if he could, which he did. So thanks to Steve for that. But the most important thing here is that my logo did change. So I'm no longer rocking the orange. I am rocking the correct logo. Some new faces this week. That frightens me that we might have a straggler that uses the whole 30 seconds, but D Rich, I recognize.
Hey, you're not 6th, so you're moving up.
Yeah, I was drafting at the back like 50 weeks in a row, so I'm 4th, okay.
Although I'd probably rather be top 2 this week.
Yeah, I think Rory and Xander are certainly ahead of the pack, but we'll deal the cards we have. All right, so we get rolling here in about 20 seconds. I'll go ahead and share the draft board since I'm not picking till the middle. And we'll get rolling here shortly. Oh, It had been a while since I'd gone into the John Deere especially going for like 3 days and following a group around each day, man. I got more respect for these, especially the caddies. Like,
Yeah.
you get a course that's got hills and stuff, like that's not an easy, I had a pretty good like 8 miles in every day, and my legs were barking by the time Sunday came around. Obviously, I'm not in near the shape of those guys, but just reminds you that it's not without some physical challenges. The next time you wonder why Tiger Woods can't make it through 4 rounds with his back. Oh man, somebody took Fleetwood.
Ooh.
Did Rory just go third? I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
My whole plan has been thwarted here. All right. High upside format. We'll go with Aubert.
All right, I'm gonna get my guys Tom Kim and Minwoo. Oh no, I'm not.
No, you're not.
Wow.
The
Yeah, see, Aaron Rise, 11th in ADP. He's gonna be high on this week.
11th in ADP and about 20th or so in pricing. Good Bobby Mack, 15th in ADP.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that last year. Rory just ripped his heart out with that 2-iron or whatever it was.
And yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting tournament for Rory after not playing for a few weeks. Like, everyone's worried about him, struggling after missing those putts at the US Open, but like, at least you're not, on the same course or something, or in the same state. Like, you get to go thousands of miles away, play a completely different style of course. Like, I mean, Rory's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, rolling through round number 3 now. There goes Ryan JT at the turn there from D Rich, one of our regulars. Thanks for joining as usual.
Did you see Tom Kim had to be a sponsored invite to this?
I did not.
He's like top 20 in the world, and he didn't qualify somehow.
Yeah, Webb Simpson probably got in, but
Webb's still getting in.
I don't know. Is Webb in the field? I was just joking, but
I mean, the bottom's pretty bad.
He is not.
I haven't heard of the bottom like 30 guys. Oh, Padraig Harrington, he's won a bunch on the senior tour. It could be interesting.
You know what? I'm just going all for team upside here. What the heck? Hope it.
Who'd you take? Oh, Tigala? Okay, I like it.
We got the all YOLO team here with Aubert and Matsuyama and Tigala. I was going to take Connors, but I'm like, nah, he doesn't fit with the team YOLO that we're building here. So,
the President's Cup's going to have like 5 Canadians on it. It's kind of crazy.
All right. Got to find another member of Team YOLO here. So that's probably going to be Homa. I will gladly sacrifice my snake draft team doing somewhat poorly this week, because I'm probably not going to have a ton of these guys in my DFS builds. Kind of a weird drafting spot here. Spieth off the board right before Ben Griffin, just like everyone would have thought a year or two ago. All right, gotta line up my next YOLO team guy. Oh, I found the perfect team YOLO guy. Perfect team YOLO guy here.
Keith Mitchell?
Yeah, it's Keith Mitchell. Hopefully we're on enough of a delay.
Straka's a pretty good YOLO guy.
Jay Troxel takes Keith Mitchell. I'll know that he just barely listened and caught it before. It'd be complete fraud.
I think he's on auto draft. He's been going.
Oh, he's been taking the whole time, every time. All right, fair enough. It's probably the one person that was in beforehand. Keith Mitchell it is.
All right, I like my squad. Except Hovland.
I don't really like mine, but again, we're just going for the upside this week here, so it's become my theme.
Oh, I got to give a shout out to Axis. Ever since he came on the show, I think he's hit 4 of the last 5 winners outright. Pretty nice run.
You know, we don't get a. Do we get a tip for that, or
yeah, he owes us something.
Finder's fee or something?
Yeah.
Well, kudos. That's always fun. Thompson, I mean, I know that course is easy, but like he was.
Once he hit that even a 44-footer on one, I was like, okay.
Yeah, there just wasn't even a hint of nerves there. Oh, and as usual, our auto drafter gets put on autopilot for the final round only. Gotta change that. Come on now. All right, we're gonna go with Wiesberger for the final pick. Team YOLO.
I'll go Adam Scott. I'll go Noren.
Either one of those would have probably been my pick there on a normal week. Probably would have taken Noren as well. All right. Somebody took Ryan Fox right in front of me, man. He's the perfect YOLO first-round leader pick. Oh, Jordan L. Smith, the last pick. I like that one. All right. So should be an interesting week. Tom Kim, Hovland, Connors, Seabez, Straka, Hoagie, and Noren for Noto. That's the logical roster. Oberg, Matsuyama, Tigala, Homa, Keith Mitchell, McKibben, and Wiesberger for me on team win or go home. So those are our snake draft rosters for this week. Again, good luck in all your contests. Remember, next week we will tape on Monday at 8:30 Eastern for the Open Championship. Noto, anything else before then?
Yeah, I started going to bed at like 3 p.m. to get ready for a full night of sweat. Love these 2 weeks, but man, my sleep schedule.
Yeah, this week, I'll usually just kind of catch it after or whenever I wake up. But for the Open, I usually try to get up. And the one year where I had a really good week at the Open, my sleep schedule was off for a couple weeks after that. But it was worth it to win some cash. So should be a lot of fun. And again, set the alarm clocks early, or at least check late Wednesday night because this tournament's going to lock at like midnight-ish, say 1 or 2 in the morning Eastern time, 11 p.m. or so Pacific time on Wednesday night. So make sure you get those lineups finalized so you're not stuck like I was last week, right? This is the pot calling the kettle black after I got stuck basically with my dummy lineup for the first time ever. Won't do that again, at least for a while. So until next week, good luck, everybody. Thanks to Steve for producing behind the scenes, as always, for us. Thanks to Noto for joining me. I'm Justin, and we'll catch you later, everybody. Good luck.